I didn't want this video to be another super cheap versus super expensive guitar, but what I do want to talk about is up until what point is it worth it spending more money on a new guitar to get a better instrument. So let's get down to business. So you want to get a new guitar. How much money should you spend? Because I think there is kind of like this ceiling, and if you go through the ceiling, you're paying for brand, you're paying for exclusiveness, you're paying for exclusive materials maybe. So what I want to talk about is where I think that point of maximum quality is. And to illustrate that, I will be using this Squier Classic Vibe and this super turbo mega exclusive Fender Custom Shop Eric Clapton Blackie Tribute Strat. 250 of these instruments were made. They're exact replicas of Eric Clapton's Blackie, and it costs 30,000 euros. So I'm just gonna very gently put this down. Big thank you to Max Guitar, to Robbert at Max Guitar for letting me borrow these two wonderful instruments. If you want to get either of these instruments, links to the pages are down below in the description. So one kind of rule to get started, I'm not going to talk about vintage guitars because that's another world. It goes into the tens of thousands of euros, sometimes hundreds of thousands of euros, and if a famous guy played it, it might be millions. So I'm not going to touch that. Newish guitars. So I have two extremes here. Squier Classic Vibe. My apologies for the title, by the way, because 330,000 sounded better, but this is actually 372 euros. And this is 28,000 euros. And I've seen a few on Reverb that are going for well over 30,000 euros. So let's just leave it at 30. So what makes guitars more expensive? Well, first of all, the quality of the wood. How long has the wood been dried for? Have these pieces been selected for grain? Do they have a pretty flame? Stuff like that. Quality of the electronics. Good electronics cost more. Quality of the hardware. And then, of course, I think the biggest factor is labor. For a far too long time, guitars from the Far East have been seen as inferior. But that's only because the Western brands producing guitars in the Far East are choosing to use cheaper electronics, cheaper hardware, and combine that with the cheaper labor, you get a guitar that's costing you 372 euros and that Fender and the dealer are still making a profit on. But the luthiers, they're just as good. Take Eastman, for instance. They produce fantastic handcrafted guitars in China, and they are amazing. I do have my concerns about working conditions, obviously, but that's another discussion for another video. So how much should you spend? So with a guitar like this, in this price range, you're getting an insane amount of bang for your buck. They're great guitars, and there are ones out there that are fantastic, and they resonate and they play spectacularly well. I mean, the neck is straight, it came perfectly set up out of the box. There are no sharp fret ends. The only thing is, I don't know if you can hear it, but the frets are a little dull. They could use a little shine. You know, the plastics don't look as good as on like the Fender vintage reissues, but that's to be expected for this price. You can upgrade electronics, you can upgrade hardware, whatever. You can mod the hell out of it, and it'll be an even better guitar. And then Blackie, it's just perfect. I grew up with Eric Clapton, so a black Strat with a maple neck is all I dreamt about as a kid. And I think it was 2006 when these guitars came out, and I've watched that Fender Custom Shop video over and over and over and over again. So just to hold this in my hands, it's like magic. Does it sound like 30,000 euros? Does it play like 30,000 euros? Well, no, of course not. But you know, if you have that kind of money and you're a fan of Clapton, I'd go for it. I would really go for it if money were no object at all. But looking at it rationally, with my financial position at this point in my life, a Strat for 30,000 euros is just crazy. Fender has the Fender Japan series, and I think price quality wise, that's the best you can get. I think they're around 1,500 euros. They resonate, they are perfectly set up, they play like a dream. Having a custom shop instrument is not necessarily a guarantee of getting a fantastic guitar. You also have to bond with the guitar. But if you bond with the guitar, is it worth paying for a new Fender custom shop instrument, an aged one? I think you are now paying somewhere between 4,000 and 5,000 euros. For a Gibson, like with a set neck and a beautiful flame top, 4,000, maybe 5,000 max. That's what I think they are worth. But they're charging 10,000 euros for a Murphy Lab 8 Les Paul, which is just crazy to me. It's not for musicians anymore. Those guitars will end up with collectors, just like this beautiful Blackie here. This is a collector's item, and that is why you're paying that much money, and that's why it's worth that much money. Is it stupid? Yes, but there are luxury items in the world. Is a Rolex worth what, 10,000 euros, 30,000 euros? I have no idea what a Rolex costs, but it shows you the time and it costs you 10,000 euros. Is that worth it? No, I can read the time on my phone. I have a Apple thing, which is stupid as well, and I paid that much money for it. But yeah, so they're catering to a certain audience, and some people see guitars as investments, and they are very wise investments indeed. Okay, so back to how much should you spend? I think for a Fender style guitar, not necessarily the Fender brand, somewhere between 1,500 and 3,000 euros. Anything above that, you're paying for brand, you're paying for exclusiveness, or you're paying for exclusive woods or whatnot. But a basic Fender guitar, I think it shouldn't cost any more than 3,000 euros. But that's totally my personal opinion. If you have more money to spend, go for it, because the Fender Custom Shop guitars are amazing. The Fender or the Gibson Murphy Labs are insanely good. I think they're too expensive, but if you have the money, go spend it. It's just going to sit in your bank account and it's going to be spent on bullshit. So buy a guitar. And after all the rational analyzing, there's a very important thing you shouldn't neglect: your heart. Follow your heart. If you pick up a guitar, you strike a chord, and you just know it's the one, get that one. You can find magic in super expensive guitars and more affordable guitars. For instance, my PRS, it's a USA-made McCarty double cut. I paid 1,300 euros for it, and it's insanely good. So to wrap this up, just follow your heart and try to make a financial decision that to your significant other, it looks like you've really thought this through, because this is the last one. It's not gonna work. We all know you're lying.